little This Is Your Life story, and we're down here in the museum, and we've got a lot of Coca-Cola things, and that's part of your life because you worked for it for so long. But where did you start out in the first place, Turley?
I started to work for the Coca-Cola Bottling Works, Lexington, Kentucky, over at Richmond, Kentucky, where I was born and raised.
Now, where were you born?
Down in Newby, Kentucky.
Newby, Kentucky, okay.
May the 22nd, 1919.
Have you had working for Coca-Cola?
No, I was a farmer before that. I started to work for the Coca-Cola Bottling Works in the fall of 1936. Shortly after the Depression, it was very, very hard to get a good job, even then.
So
I started out as a route salesman on the truck, delivering and selling Coca-Cola. We had one product at that time, 6.5 ounce size bottle.
Seems like I could remember you painting signs somewhere along the way too.
Well, it was a standard policy. We salesmen put up one sign each day somewhere.
Really?
And in a few years' time, we had signs on corn cribs, fence rows, and everywhere else.
So you weren't painting them; you were just putting up the
just
paper
putting them
sign.
up, yeah.
Paper sign.
Yeah, not paper, metal signs.
Metal.
Inside, paper signs inside the stores. And
so you went from store to store.
yes.
Within a truck. How far did your territory go?
Well, I worked the city of Richmond every day, and I would go out in the country to Kirksville, Round Hill, Cottonburg, Poosey Ridge, Valley View, Baldwin and Newby, Cusick, and so forth, and Doysville.
Right.
Go down there about every 2 weeks, and we worked 6 days a week back in those days. Usually work at 6 o'clock in the morning. Quitting time was when the last customer was worked. It could be as late as 9 o'clock at night. But you was very lucky to have the job, so you bit the bullet and did the hard work. Go down on Sunday and wash the truck. Have it nice and clean for Monday morning.
Over the years, you came up then from route salesman. Give us your jobs that you had over the years.
And when the rationing first started at World War II, I told my boss, I said, you know, I can't go around and tell these customers that they can only have so many cases of Coca-Cola a week when many of them have bought Coca-Cola just to help me in one sense.
You mean Coca-Cola was rationed?
Yes. The sugar, you know.
Oh, that's right.
The sugar. And so he made me his assistant manager at the branch plant in Richmond. And in a couple of 3 years, he was transferred to Lexington office, home office, as general manager of all 5 of our plants. We had bottling plants at Richmond, Danville, Somerset, Mount Sterling, and of course Lexington was home office, encompassed a 42 county area in the bluegrass region of Kentucky. We called the cream of the crop.
Right.
And so then World War II came along, and I had to go to the war. I was in the Marine Corps in the Pacific. When I came back from service, I went down to the Somerset branch plant. I was supposed to go down as manager. Well, it never worked out that they could get rid of the old manager, so I was there a year and a half and transferred back to the Lexington home office as a dispatcher at that particular time. About a year then, I was transferred into cashier. I've done everything in the company. Cashier, then general sales manager, vice president, director of marketing. And when I retired, I was executive vice president, director of marketing. Then it was the Bluegrass Coca-Cola Bottling Works Incorporated.
So your whole life, working life, has been dedicated to Coca-Cola.
That's right.
Have you ever drunk a Pepsi?
Well, you know, it was a lot of years. It was a lot of years before I would drink one. And a fella told me one time, you know, he said, it is nice to know what your competitor tastes like. So I found a nice lady vending machine out in the territory one day. and hid and drank it.
Oh, yeah, you don't want anybody to see that. Okay. I see you have in your lap here this 100 years history. Let's move around a little bit and then we'll come back to the history. I want you to go then.
This Biedenharn's Candy Company in Vicksburg, Mississippi. He was the first bottler of Coca-Cola. That's his from his candy company, his bottling equipment here, and his drugs, fountain.
Now, the first man to make Coca-Cola, so this is Dr. Pemberton's drugstore.
No, this is Jacob's Pharmacy, where the Coca-Cola was first sold.
First sold.
Dr. Pemberton made the formula for Coca-Cola. He was a pharmacist. He made it in his backyard at home in a copper kettle stirred with a wood paddle, and it's on display at the Coca-Cola Company, USA. He carried a gallon of it down to Jacob's Pharmacy, a friend of his, and sold the first Coca-Cola that was sold to the general public was sold at Jacob's Pharmacy. As I said, he was a pharmacist, and he was making a formulation to sell for colic, as they call it back then, gas on the stomach.
Right.
So he carried a gallon of it, I'm repeating it, he carried a gallon of it down to the Jacob's Pharmacy, a friend of his, Jacob's drugstore. And that was, Coca-Cola was first sold in the glass at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta. Now, Dr. Pemberton was in ill health, in a sense, and he sold all the rights to Asa G. Candler. Asa G. Candler was also a druggist and a businessman in Atlanta, Georgia, and he sold all the rights to Coca-Cola all over the world for $2,200.
Well, it was a lot in those days, I guess. And about the what you told me about it, somebody put it under the wrong one and got the fizz water in.
Yes. So at Jacob's Pharmacy, they were selling it in a glass. You want me to show you one of the glasses?
Sure.
Put out for him to distribute Coca-Cola in. They pour the syrup in the top. This is a reproduction of the original, but this is quite valuable, being even the real reproduction. And it would set the glass underneath, up to that little white mark, and draw syrup from it up to there.
Right.
Then go over and put this natural water in it. One day, by accident, the guy behind the counter, he put the water, he got the syrup, went over to put the water in, and back in those days, the fountains to make sodas and so forth, you pushed it this way, you got pushed it from you, you got carbonated water, pulled it to you, you get natural water. So mistake, he pushed it forward and carbonated by accident. And
they had an invention right there.
That's the greatest mistakes ever been made.
Now this was a nickel. That would sell for a nickel.
5 cents a glass, yes.
No ice.
They got fancy. They got fancy as time went on, serving it at the drugs. Hard to carry that little glass, and hard for the first lady to drink. So they made these little things, which is quite rare to.
So it really did make people feel better, and it caught on then.
Yes, yes. Cola was sold in the early days exclusively at drugstores, and Ben Thomas and Mr. Whitehead were at a baseball game in Atlanta, Georgia. And they thought how nice it would be if we had a glass of Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And one of them said, I've got the idea for that, we'll bottle it. So they go to Mr. Candler and get all rights in the entire United States to bottle and sell Coca-Cola. And the first bottles that was put in, even before crowns as we know them today, soft drinks, referred to a lot of times as pop.
Okay, that's true.
And how it got the name pop. This early bottle didn't have a crown, but had the wire with the washer on the end. Stayed in there all the time. You'd fill it up and then pull this up and seal it from the inside of the shoulders. When you get ready to open it, you just take your hand and hit the wire and it'd pop down, and when it would break that seal on that carbonate, so it'd pop. And that's how the name pop got started. Now this is one of the first bottles. Then the next bottle was like this, when the crowns came into being, just a clear bottle. But in those days, this was put on there as just paper, see. And as they started refrigerating it, well, that'd come off in the cooler, so they started making the bottle with it built into it. But now the first bottle, the next bottle after that was this brown amber bottle.
Okay. And
this bottle was last used in 1916. And in 1916, it changed to this bottle, which is the most recognized
that's right.
and perfect package ever made. Even a blind man can tell what that is by just feeling of the bottle. It has that distinction of being the most perfectly designed package ever made.
Are they still making that size bottle now?
No, they're trying to discontinue it, but
it's about
they
right.
couldn't discontinue it if they keep it on the shelf because people would still be buying it.
So what have you got here now?
This is one of the early advertising medias. This tray, if you'll notice, it's a glass. It's a fountain before bottling came into being. And this ad was one of the first bottle ads.
Always pretty women drinking Coke.
Always.
Of course.
Have you got any little round coasters?
And this is when they hand you trays
Well,
back?
at the drugstore, you know,
Yeah.
you buy a Coke, the lady said, back in those days, they had the tables and the chairs, and they'd carry it out to you. And then when you brought your change back, they delivered it in a little tray.
Oh, those
like
are cute.
that. This is a very rare case. This is a case just like Coca-Cola was distributed in my days. This is a case that my boss, well, it wasn't my boss, but the owner of this local company that I worked for, Mr. Charles Mitchell, he was issued the franchise to bottle and sell Coca-Cola in the 42 county area of Kentucky, April of 1904. And this case is one of the cases he went into business with the brown bottles.
Okay.
in it.
Now,
And that's a very rare.
when you started working, then you were dealing with cases and bottles. You
Yes.
had to load up your truck and go to Doysville, say.
It would go to all over.
And then what did you do with them when you got to the store?
Well, we'd carry the full ones in and the empties out, and we had coolers to cool the drinks in. $2 and a half. It holds.
Yeah, what then?
It holds.
A piece, how many what did the Coke sell for? A nickel or dime? What?
80 cents a case, and sold for a nickel a bottle to the customer.
They just come in, get a bottle, and
Yeah.
go over and plunk a nickel down on the cash for whoever's run the store, Mr. Denham or Leola or whoever,
Yeah.
right?
Now it made it very easy for we salesmen to carry this around, show the customer.
Now they had to buy
And we
that
had
though.
we had different sizes. See.
But did the
Customer
store
bought.
owner had to buy the case?
Yes. Had to buy the cooler. And this is a rare piece. Very rare.
Yeah, that's great.
Very rare. And she still got all the all the original stuff and all the information. It's different size cooler, how cold to keep it.
This would have been before the First World War. This case.
This 1937. 1937. Case of G. Candler sold all the rights to Mr. Woodruff. And Mr. Woodruff is the man that came in with all the new innovative ideas that had the first 6 bottle cartons on him to take home carton. And the first one under his regime, there was one carton before him that never did catch on, and it was like this. It was before its time. This was really about 1933 or 34. Now this was, to me, was one of the better designed packages for picnicking.
Yeah.
Being salty, you put ice, put the bottles in there, and ice them right on to the picnic. Now in my day, this is the first carton that I delivered, and the first carton we had when I delivered. You know, it says 6 for a quarter.
6 for a quarter.
Yeah. Now that's original.
That's the old original 6 for a
Now,
quarter.
Then after we made this carton, we had to have something to display them with in the grocery stores. So then after the carton, we had to have something to put them on. So this is the second one. It's not the first one. And
How about that
all the different cartons.
How about that little wooden one? That's cute.
Well, the wood ones, aluminum. There was all kinds of cartons that came out.
How long did that little wooden one stay on the market? I like that.
Well, it didn't stay too long because ladies would take them home and make fireboxes out of them. And that took care of that.
I could see why. I think they're cute too.
There's many different types, and even now this was the next carton after this was the third carton, like this.
Yeah.
You remember the other one that's all solid and just see the next, and then you can see a little more of the bottle.
And they recycle.
Yeah. Then after that, well.
Now you picked up the empty bottles when you went back to the stores.
Oh yes, I would load my truck. I'd handle each case 4 times. Well, each case on the truck would be 4 times. I'd load it on the truck, unload it, carry it in to the customer, carry empties out and put them on the truck, bring the truck back and then unload the empties. So.
You had, well, it was an interesting job. It wasn't like factory work where you had to stand and do one thing all day.
Well, it was hard work, but it was a good job, and you was lucky to have a job shortly after the Depression.
And you were selling something that people liked.
That's right. Most asked for soft drink in the world.
Right.
Coca-Cola. That's right. Soft drink in the world, and the most asked for soft drink in the world.
And still
And
is.
the most imitated thing in the world.
And still is.
And still is the most asked for soft drink in the world.
Okay. Well, you got some other bottles here. What does this first bottle say here, Turley, with the, I can't read
The
it. I
brown.
thought it always said Coca-Cola.
The brown.
The
brown. That first one right there.
this one?
Yeah.
This is Israel.
I thought they always said Coca-Cola no matter what country they were. But they don't even know.
They do.
Okay, they don't even know the
See
alphabet.
Coca-Cola on one side.
Okay.
See? This is I think this is China.
Yeah, it must be.
China. And of course this is one of the gold-plated
You
bottles.
got a can here that somebody brought you from Egypt too.
Yeah, but honey, I've got it.
You got a few
I
things.
had to get all that stuff out. It's just
I don't know where they are.
Okay, then cans. After the bottles are the cans that we all know about now in the machines.
Yeah. And of course before that, the plastic for the cans, the plastic bottles, throwaway bottles, and the cans. It's all cans in one-way packages now.
And they don't recycle anymore.
And this is one of
And then they're down to plastics now.
Yeah.
Well, you might say Coca-Cola has come a ways.
Yeah.
the
Right
came a
away.
long way.
So this is part of a newspaper. Okay, go ahead.
This is the first ad that Mr. Mitchell purchased. And it was purchased in July the 4th, 1904. He was issued the franchise in April 1904. And it advertises both bottle and glass. And in the early days, our biggest competitor and only competitor was our own fountain division, because they would try to outdo us where we had the bottle cup. And
About these pictures, Turley.
Norman Rockwell did all the printing work, picture work for our calendars back in the early days. And those two, the boy fishing and the plantation scene there, this was 1935, this was 1936. They are original prints for making the calendar covers. Picks.
Playing cards.
Yeah.
What are those little cases up on top? Just little advertising?
Well, just little novelty things to give, little gold bottles,
I used to give those away all the time.
gold bottles.
Cufflinks? I think I gave you those
Yeah,
cufflinks.
that's right. Sure did. And somewhere I've got billfolds and a good pocket knives. See, just
Christmas tree ornaments?
anything and everything. Now, here's one of the billfolds we used to give. That's made of genuine pigskin.
Really? Yeah, I never saw one of those. A lot of this I've never seen.
There's a lot here that some people will never see unless they see this or someone else that's got the stuff. And bottle openers, see, to give a customer.
Bottle openers are a real collector's item now, because they don't have any bottles to open.
Especially these.
yeah.
bottle openers here are old now. They you can buy some on the new ones on the market, but they're not like those. Those are old.
And the hand openers are even scarcer. Those things went to the wayside. They got too expensive for the
These
company.
little radios, little radios.
Now, were those
These are very rare.
though you sold those radios, didn't you? They wouldn't have been giveaway things for promotion.
Promotion.
Promotion. But there's a very limited edition of them.
Like somebody in the store who might have been a good customer for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. It's very select.
It went mostly to the dealer, didn't it?
Well, it's like, for example, and I'll give you an example. At Kroger stores, A&P stores, big chains. Well, there's always a head man for all those chains in your territory in Louisville. So you drive to Louisville, you deal direct with him, things you want to do at all of his stores in his area. So you take him a nice item like that, and you get your foot in the door. Just for this fine company. And did an awful lot of hard work, and after 50 years, that's all they gave me.
Very good.
Now, isn't that something?
I mean.
Now, in 50 years with the company, I married this young lady in 1939. We've been married 52 years. She worked as hard on the home front as I worked on the business front, and between us, we made a pretty good team.
Very good.
When I retired in 1977, they wanted to really give me a big send-off. As you know, it's downstairs, that bottle. But they wanted to give me a big party, and I couldn't stand that. So at Christmas time, it was a policy in our company that all the managers of all the branch plants and so forth would meet for a Christmas party, get together. And so at that Christmas party, naturally I went, but they pulled a surprise on me. My wife had got all these pictures and give them to them, so they picked up this surprise. This is one of the things they surprised me with, kind of like "This Is Your Life." This one is a very small child, school picture, and of course my Coca-Cola uniform on,
Right.
and dressed up on Sunday. My horse and my service picture. I was in the Marine Corps in World War II.
Oh.